Welcome to ATRAM Game Changers, the podcast that invites you to explore the exceptional minds of our time. Brought to you by ATRAM, the leading independent, digitally powered asset and wealth management firm in the Philippines.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of ATRAM's Game Changers podcast. My name is Phillip Hagedorn, and we're very happy today to have a very good friend of ours joining us, Mr. Rex Mendoza. Rex, the valued partner of ATRAM. He is the CEO of Rampver Financials. Rampver is one of the largest distributors of investment funds in the Philippines, with over 60,000 customers listening to everything Rex says. Rampver Financials has been recognized as a top 10 wealth management service company in Asia Pacific. He's a very well-known advocate of financial literacy with tons and tons of content online if you want to listen to his ideas. And really, Rex is an inspiration, I think, to us, to me, somebody that has spent his whole life in the Philippines, from college years to the masters to joining insurance, becoming the head of one of the largest insurance companies, well, definitely in the Philippines, and if not in the region, becoming a top executive and board member of Ayala Land, the largest, one of the strongest property companies in the country, sitting on the board of Globe even at one point. So really an inspiration to us all, and somebody that I think we're all going to learn something from today. So let's sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with our good friend, Rex Mendoza. Welcome, Rex.
Hi, Phillip. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. You know, it's we've known each other for a while, but every time we meet, we're always talking about markets and trying to see what's best for people, what products we can launch and what ideas are out there. But today we want to learn a little bit more about you, Rex. I think, like I said earlier, you're a super inspiration. You're somebody that's really gone through the ranks, right? I mean, fought the battles in the front lines. You've made your way all the way to the boardroom, right? So that journey is really exciting. I think it's something that many of us can learn from, and would want to hear the story and emulate, I guess. So where do we begin, Rex? Where do we begin? Tell us maybe a little bit about your early life. Like, I mean, your parents, your growing up years. What was that like?
Oh, I was the son of a couple who are both in government service. And I say this all the time, at the time when it was very, very honorable. My father was in the judiciary. He wanted me to be a lawyer. He wanted me to be a lawyer, but kind of failed him on that. I really wanted to be in business. My mom is into employee benefits and compensation for the GSIS. So growing up, I saw them struggle. I saw them get themselves into side hustles. Maybe the brawn type side hustle, because we're into jeepneys and sari-sari stores. You can just imagine growing up, even in high school, I had to wait like till about 1 in the morning to accept the boundary from the drivers, count all of those coins,
wow,
and wake up the next morning.
So it was a family business already.
Yeah.
Excellent. And where did you go to high school?
Oh, high school was Lourdes School in La Loma in Quezon City. So I always say, I'm not from Green Hills or Katipunan, but I'm from La Loma and Retiro. I mean, that's where I grew up. I mean, that's Santa Mesa Heights, Sampaloc area.
Fantastic. And so, you went to high school, eventually UP, you graduated double major in marketing and finance. I graduated as a marketing, couldn't do a double major, but I mean, top 10 in his class, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a time when we had majors, right? Today, it's all like you do BA or BAA. But at that time, you have to choose electives. And I became governor of a Pansenia fraternity, and I had to stay another sem to complete my term because I was supposed to graduate in 3.5 years. So that's the reason for the finance major. I was a marketing major, not from the get-go. And then I had that finance major coming in as a double major because I had no choice. I had to stay another term to complete my governor role in Pansenia.
Well, that's Rex for you, right? Somebody that doesn't leave responsibilities unattended, diba? Even if it means sitting around for another 6 months or a year to complete, no? So
it actually did well for me with the kind of companies that I joined later on. Both the marketing and finance side really helped a lot because I guess common notion is when you're on the marketing side, finance will be difficult for you. And if you're good in finance, obviously you're going to be focused on the numbers. Then, customers might be out of your purview. But I had both. And I guess that's a very good perspective from the very start.
Absolutely. I mean, I think doing the marketing thing on my end, I mean, I think that a lot of finance requires marketing to
Very
make
true.
sense, right? Because to bring it down, I mean, and that's what I think you do fantastic when you do your talks, when you express your views to people, that it's really brought down to a level that is easy to understand. It doesn't feel hard to reach. And, in most cases, investments and finance is that way. Shouldn't be that complicated. If it is, there might be a problem, I guess, when things get to become too complicated.
No, and I guess that's also what we like about ATRAM. And, and that's the reason why I feel that there's really, a marriage of objectives because we try to simplify. Let me tell you, in other companies, that's not the case. Somehow they want to make it a little more discombobulating because they get to be more valuable, right? If other people don't understand it as much, I should be more valuable. But it doesn't work that way. When people get to appreciate what you have, what you do, what you offer, and they appreciate the nuts and bolts of it in the simplest of terms, I think they're going to be more loyal and they're going to go on that journey with you.
So how do you, that's a selling piece. And I think when you think of your career, you graduated from university in the early 80s, I guess, crazy times, right? I think you were saying that you started to work and a few months later, the assassination of Ninoy Aquino happened, which stalled the whole economy. So after that, you take your master's, you're at AIM, you take your master's and come back to the workforce. What was your goal? What was your thinking? Is there decisions to make? Did you have 5 offers on the table and have to pick one? What was that like?
I graduated with distinction, and that's no mean feat for AIM. So I had this chance to work for really prestigious companies. But the offer I had from my old boss in Philam resonated very well because he told me, if you're going to be joining all of those companies, you're going to be a trainee. They're going to move you around, and in 2 years, you're going to be occupying a leadership spot. I will give you that leadership spot now. So
straight off the bat,
group marketing was your unit before you went to MBA. Now you're going to be leading that unit as you come back. And for me, that was a big, that was a big incentive.
Game changer, as they say
yes.
in this podcast. Okay.
And as I always say now, looking back, you can only connect the dots backwards, as they say. But I have to be spiritual about that because, most of the twists and turns of my career were presented to me not in the same way I planned it out. We all have these things, right? As you get to walk on that road and the forks happen, you pray about it. But when you look back, all of those connections, all of those, events materialized and maybe just came up to be a great story today. So, going back to that, I went back to Philam. I headed group marketing. So that's employee benefits. And then I get to market to institutions. So that challenge of being able to sit with a finance head, talking to them about the benefits of, insurance, HMOs, medical, for all of their employees, and facing the employees after the policy gets bought so that they understand their benefits. It ushered me into a very early foray into public speaking. So and that helped me a lot as
So
well.
these are presentations in front of different companies that you're pitching, things like that put you in front.
So that exposure was very important because as I moved up, I always thought one of my strengths would be communication, and the way I can simplify a very technical thing like group insurance to that common employee who likes coverage for his medical needs as far as that whole benefit structure is concerned, the choices that he can make. He doesn't understand that, and I'm able to simplify that for them. So it worked out really well because I can connect to both people in higher echelons and also the workers in those companies.
Well, I guess that was the first step in becoming the expert in insurance and understanding, all the product range and everything out there. And then the next game-changing idea from your standpoint, I guess, was how do I make my personal wealth grow, no? And maybe that was your next big move, the big move into agency and setting up Rampver, no?
I'm not going to be so ashamed about it. The driver and the motivation was money. I mean, clearly,
for most of us,
I realized as I was
especially at that age, you gotta shore it up, right?
I actually became top producer for AIG globally on group insurance. So they brought me to Seoul, South Korea for the 1988 Olympics. And, funny story because I took my mom and my dad with me. I wasn't married at that time. So they had the experience of seeing the Olympic spectacle, and it was a great, great show. And I always go back to my father at that time because, there were days or maybe often when he gets to mention, you know what, Rex, you're the only non-professional in this family. My mom's an accountant, he's a lawyer, and my brother and sister are both doctors. So he told me that.
The pressure was
only
on.
non-professional in this family. So when we went to Korea for the Olympics, I was asking, where are the doctors? They weren't here. So somehow I had this idea, I'm talking to the top brass in the boardroom for the group benefits. And then I train the employees to maximize on the benefits they have. I just felt, somehow I'm on the wrong side of the fence because I do the business, I do the work, and the agent actually gets more money than me. And I get back to this case that knocked me in the head because I helped a friend close a group insurance policy for a seafarers union of 14,000 lives. The guy earned about 300,000 a month in commissions for as long as that policy was alive. And at that time, I was earning 15,000. So I said, I'm on the wrong side. So I resigned. I became an agent. I put up Rampver for all the other distribution lines.
Before there, I'm just curious because you're going from working for a top company in the Philippines, right? Probably benefits. You could probably work for them for life and be secure. Did you have to pray about that move? Like I'm going to leave this company and go out pretty much on my own, right? And rest on my laurels, I guess. How did that decision come about?
That was a tough one. And you're right. I really prayed about it because let's face it. I mean, there are entitlements when you're already an executive level. I was SAVP at that time, about to be promoted to to VP. And I already led a group of about 80 people, a business that's actually, sort of autonomous because it's in Makati and the head office is in Manila, in UN. So I was like king as far as Makati was concerned. But, it's very different. But the circumstances were also a bit of a difficulty. I have been married a year. I have a newborn daughter. So it's also scary to get away from that security. But I said, I'll take this plunge and then I'll take a chance at it. But again, much as it's all, as I believe, divine providence that, I got to do what I wanted. I got to do what I did. I also had strategies to support it because as I've said, I've
There's
been,
nothing rash here. This is all
Oh, yeah.
planned
yeah.
with steps that you had prepared, right? I mean,
The income for agency is going to be big, but it's not going to be regular, right? And I have a family to feed. So what I did was to do training programs. I actually trained banks in marketing and sales because at that time, you remember the 90s, bankers don't know how to sell. They're sitting in their offices, they're waiting for customers to come in. And at that time, bankers were beginning to understand the sales profession. So I did Union Bank with Maria Goolsby and Mr. Tito Ortiz. I trained all the branch managers. Then I moved to PCI Bank before it became part of that Equitable group. So that was my bread and butter line as I was doing my sales on the side until, I had that blending of income. And I said, it's time to start a little bit of an entrepreneurial venture on the side. And that's the reason why I put up Rampver. So Rampver's about 31 years now.
for those that you don't know, I mean, Rampver, like I said earlier, top financial company here in the Philippines, but family run company, right? I mean, initially it was just Rex and Anna, his wife. Anna's the chairman and treasurer, so we know who's holding on to the cash, right? But more recently, Enzo joined. Enro joined
2021 during the pandemic because we were in the house almost every day, right? And then he got to realize that, might as well join you. I mean, we're doing this business as a family.
Cool. I mean, I want to end with Rampver later on and just finish with that one. But before that, you went from insurance and talking to banks to suddenly property. How did that happen?
Mr. Quisha actually let me do my agency thing for about 4 years. And he said, Rex, it's high time you join us back. I mean, we're reviving the mutual fund industry through Phillip Fund. And at that time, he said, you have a very good relationship with the agents. Might as well join us and lead that unit. And I asked, what's going to happen to Rampver? And he said, you can let Anna run it. Again, one of the game changers, since we're into game changing, is that mindset that we can mix a corporate career and a business. For a lot of people, that's a no-no, right? I realize there are 3 things that are very important here. Number 1 is disclosure. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm going to tell them that this company is very valuable to me. And if you want me to join the workforce again, I might have to continue this, but through Anna. Okay? Disclosure. Number 2 is continuous performance. I performed for Phillip Asset Management. If you remember, the capitalization was 10 million. When I left PAMI in 2004, in 9 years, the net profit is about 100 million a year. So for a 10 million investment 10 years prior, right? So it is performance, and they will let you continue your business if you're performing anyway. So you're earning your keep. And the third is integrity. All throughout those 10 years that I was in, Phillip, there was no agency complaint of a conflict of me or Rampver getting any policy from any other distributor. The concept that we held on to, and the rule is this: if there is any conflict, agent wins, we'll have to let it go. Okay, so that has worked well for me. And then Mr. Quisha said, you did very well for Phillip Asset Management. Why don't you go back to the mainstream insurance company? So I became EVP and head of marketing, sales, and training. And I called it SMART. Sales, Marketing, and Training. So it's the SMART group. And, I was EVP.
Marketing talaga si Rex. Galing.
and I was sent to the US for the AIG Accelerated Country Management Program, which meant, you're on the inroads to CEO. Because there are 78,000 employees of AIG. Only 12 people attend
that thing.
So I got chosen for that.
Fantastic.
So MRG, Maurice R. Greenberg, the toughest boss to work with as far as fortune was concerned at that time, was the celebrated faculty head of that training program. So let's just say I kind of idolized the guy. My idea about AIG and MRG are one. I came back, and about a year after, he got ousted. If you remember, Elliot Spitzer, right, booting him out, and I felt, disillusioned with the organization. And that was the time Ayala Land came in and said, we need sales and marketing. It was a great property company, but it wasn't very clear with segmentation.
I think they were evolving at that time. Is that when they created those different brands, Avida?
They actually took me in for that. So I got in late 2005. We launched the brand architecture in 2006. And it was the work of the team and the entire force, and making sure that we can deal with very specific SBUs, so strategic business units. My job and my team's job at that time was to create brands for each segment, create a standalone sales force for each segment. So you can really talk, walk, breathe your brand. So if you're dealing with an ALP seller, that's
ALP is
luxury.
Ayala Premier, right?
Yeah, Premier.
I know the codes.
So yeah, so you would know that they're gonna be dressed to the nines. Even if they're in a mall booth, they're gonna be in suits. And there's going to be Alveo, which is the upscale brand, and then Avida. And as you go down the line to Amaya, then they're going to be more mass-based. And that particularly gave Ali the strength to somehow compete really well.
Actually, that's when they actually diversified, because they were always known as just high-end, right? At that time. And so and what did you learn? I mean, you were selling insurance, suddenly homes. I guess homes and insurance are like investments and are connected. Was it a similar integration for you or not? I mean,
in a way it is. I guess all the principles of sales actually would be universal. It's all activity. It's all meeting up with customers and understanding needs, prioritization and all that. I mean, any product will have 101 things going for it in terms of advantages, but the client might want to hear only one or two. It's a way of analyzing the situation so that you begin to understand what are those two.
I've just thought of this, but is it because many times an investment or a home is your first time? It's not like you're buying shoes for the 50th time or,
it's a big decision.
It's a big decision that maybe pulls on the same emotions. Maybe that's the question. Do you find that it's pulling on the same strings?
It's actually very different. You see, because with investments in financial services, including insurance, sometimes the customer need is not as clear. So I want to spend money. I want to enjoy my money. You're actually taking that enjoyment away from me if you want me to be disciplined to invest. But a home is something I want. A home is something I'd like to have. So you don't have to sell the need. You now have to sell how the product meets up with that person's requirements. It's very easy selling the need because everybody wants a home. But is that home really a match for you? Can you actually pay for it? Is it designed in a way that fits your lifestyle? So it's a very, very different process altogether.
Okay. Cool. Well, learned something today, that's for sure. Excellent. So, you get into Ayala Land, you're there for a few years. You're still on the board. I believe you've been on the board, I want to say 20 years?
No. I've been on the board maybe about 5 years now.
Oh, 5 years now.
5 years.
5 years now. Okay. You joined them in
I joined them in 2019, before the pandemic. Yeah.
No, that's the board. But Ayala Land.
Ayala Land was 2005. 2005.
So that was about 20 years ago. But
Yeah. But you see, after I did very well in Ayala Land, again, mentored by the great Tony Aquino, I've always had great mentors.
That's where I'm going to go to next. So why don't you share some thoughts?
In Philam, Ambassador Joey Quisha is tops in terms of vision, strategy, I mean, he's one of the best technocrats this country has ever produced. But before him, I idolize another person. His name is Rodrigo de los Reyes, and he's the ultimate salesperson.
You see a Philem gentleman?
He's a CEO of Philem before
Philem,
Mr. Quisha. And as I sit every day listening to this guy, I never saw him read from a script or from a speech. He's always extemporaneous. And I said, there will come a time I'll be speaking that way. I want to be like him in terms of communication. And that's why he can rally the agents. You know, if he says jump, everybody jumps. If he says, you know, run over a cliff, they will. I mean, this is the kind of passion and hold on people that this guy has. When I moved to Ali, I was under the best leader. I mean, leadership-wise, Tony Aquino is top brass. Again, much like me, I'm proud of it. All Philippine education, including MBA. The Ayala boys, right? I'm so sorry to say this,
boys,
but
Harvard boys.
they're all educated abroad.
Yeah.
But Tony Aquino remains to be the only management man of the year who's not a part of the family, who's pure Philippine bred.
Right.
And he's, management man of the year.
And I think that's when Ali really took it to the next level. No, I mean,
he calls it not being a leader, but a cheerleader. And he's not management by strategy, but management by Alaska. Alaskain ka every day. You know, he calls people, he's the most promising sales head. Puro promise, wala results.
So he has ways of motivating folks.
Yeah,
Huh?
He dumps a lot of targets on you. You laugh about it when you get back to your office. Did I agree to that? So again, working under Tony had this, honing of my marketing skills, because the job I had with Ayala was Ayala Land was pure marketing.
Right.
And then something happened in 2011. In 2011, one of my very good friends, Gordon Watson, the guy who shared training programs with me way back in 1988 in New York for AIG, became the regional CEO for AIA. And he says, Rex, he came to the Philippines. He said, Rex, we dreamt about this for the longest time, right? I mean, now we have the chance to chart the course, lead this company. Why don't you become CEO of Philip? That's in 2011. So, I didn't really feel so happy about it because I love Ayala Land. But, I just told the guys there, including Fernando, Bobby D, that, it's a dream. I mean, your first job in this company and you eventually become CEO of it. Right? And
that's the story.
Being able to be part of agency and corporate. And it's kind of, Did
you have that thought, like when you first, because some people have that, right? Like, this place, I want to be sitting there one day.
You have, I
have to have it. You
have to have it.
It's what do they call it? Intention, right?
Yeah, but for a lot of people, maybe it just doesn't happen. I got this from Tony Aquino as well. They always say, the CEO job is something you don't apply for. It's given to you. So you have to make sure you're ready any day to get it.
Well, not given, but earned, right? I mean, you don't, they don't give you something you don't earn.
Exactly. Yes. So, that's true. But you have to earn it first before.
I think that's and it's exciting when you give yourself that challenge, right? I mean, I think better than just where can I get a bigger paycheck? Because some people just think of that, right? And I think my experience is that the paycheck will come as long as you succeed, and
but you see, one thing that wasn't clear to me when Gordon asked me, the fact that between Mr. Quisha and me was an expat, and Philam was like really technically not doing pretty well.
Right.
So in AIA, which is now a part of not AIG anymore. AIG broke up. AIA, it was number 15 of 15 countries in Asia.
Buy low, sell high.
So I came back to Philam and AIA with a team that's now, from being one of the stalwarts of the region to now being, number 15. And that's a challenge that I raised to like almost everyone. We had, some people coming back when I came back. That was, I'm very proud of that. The leaders who have left us and joined competitors came back when I was back. And I joined in 2011. In 2013, we were number one in the whole region, and we're number one in the Philippines as well. So 2014, they had different plans for it. Expats were coming in, probably didn't really agree with that. I was made AIA senior advisor for sales and marketing. It was great, but I'm not directly.
You're not hands on the wheel. Like
exactly, and that's not me, right? So I said, might as well come back to the place that I started, many years ago, and that's Rampver.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. We launched Holdivo Funds. That's now being ably managed.
So now
by
Rampver
ATRAM.
is your 100%. That's what you do. You've got your family there,
including my 21 board seats.
Yeah, well, okay. There are 21 board seats. But you have your family there, 2 sons. The PV was working with
one
Ali.
son and 1 daughter.
So he's still with Ayala Land, the oldest?
My kids are all Ayala bred.
Okay.
PV, after graduation, worked a little bit with Mondelez, but eventually went into ALP and became one of the awardee agents until she became a broker. And last year, we just decided, with Rampver's success and lots of clients, why don't we come up with Rampver Realty? So we have now our own realty brokerage firm where PV is president, and she has been joined by some property specialists in the market, and they're now doing very, very well. Globe was the company for Enro after Ateneo, after graduating from Ateneo. He joined Globe, and in 5 years he felt, after launching Gomo, he was marketing head of Gomo, the all digital telco. And after that, he says, I'm done with corporate. I'd like to be able to join you. So that was during the pandemic. And he's the reason why we have all of these digital strategies now, things that probably you won't get from me. So, and we have, a third, a daughter who was also with Globe. But certainly he's now, kids are very different. My daughter, my youngest, wants to work with kids, and she's now doing real, more or less, non-government work for healthy education. You go back to that study about the Philippines being, in a golden window of within that demographic variable, right? But the truth is, we're not going to be taking advantage of that because our kids are not getting the right education and they're stunted because they don't have the right nutrition. My daughter is involved in the Japanese system of education and nutrition. So it's called Healthy Paaralan, and she's in Bataan. She is going to be delivering by next year a feeding program and an education program for 167 schools.
Wow.
So she's kind of
like
big
a
on
pilot
that
program for this thing.
And we were in a conference, and I was with in the same table with a billionaire from Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in that same table, and he asked my daughter what he does, and I got amazed about how she articulated that program. And before we stood
She's got the marketing in her blood. What do you expect, man?
So that billionaire actually pledged money to her program.
Fantastic.
Just in about 5 minutes of an explanation, which actually took me and my wife Anna aback because she never said those things to us.
Well, I think that's a prime example of sort of maybe the environment that your kids have grown up in, with you leading the way. And I think seeing them, you can't get better training in property than working for Ayala Land and understanding what they do. And for technology, Globe is amazing. No, the platforms that they're creating and the connections they're making with millions and millions of people certainly give Enro a boost up for can't wait to see his platforms at Rampver. So I guess the legacy, Rex, that you want to leave, no? Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really want to be remembered as somebody who has become a catalyst for more Filipinos to achieve financial security and prosperity. I guess in terms of growth, we don't have growth as a problem in this country. What we have as a problem is inclusion. And for most part, it's not because of opportunities, but it's also because of culture. It's because of what people do. And I guess Rampver's platform of education is going to be a match to that. But on top of simply the education is an offer for execution. Products that they can start with, 50 pesos, 1,000 pesos. And whenever we get into a milestone, like in Rampver, we celebrated like a driver getting into his first million. Can you imagine? So if you have people like those, you can actually tell everyone it can be done. I mean, people from, humble beginnings can be millionaires. They can be stable. They can have a future that is sustainable. If they just, put in the discipline, if they just put in the required work and knowledge in handling that money. I'd want to be able to be that catalyst that people will remember.
I think, Rex, just from your story today, you're clearly living what you speak. No? I mean, if I think about your journey, it's been about first having a real plan, right? Because without that plan, it's kind of like your waypoint where everything tries to align. And like you said, you might have a plan, but the plan might need tweaking along the way, with still trying to reach that end goal, right? And I think seeing that journey that you've created for yourself, which was, led by a big plan that you had, lots of prayers to make the right decisions when they came, because I'm sure there were a few T's in the road as you got, and it's whether you go right or left, and you maybe be patient. I think that's my advice when you get to those T's. Do your prayer and bring it inside internally to take your time to make that decision. And then when you make it, you go all in with that decision, right? Mentorship, I think it's very important to have mentors, and you've shared that you had two locally, and Mr. Quisha and
Three,
Tony Aquino.
Yeah.
Oh, and the third,
Mr. De Los Reyes.
De Los Reyes. I was interested to hear what the old head of Philam in New York might have imparted any wisdom to you, but I think it's having these local heroes is even more important, right? Because it makes it so much more real. That journey from humble beginnings to a millionaire is your story. And I think it's one that everybody should learn from and be, excited and encouraged from. So, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us today this incredible game-changing story. So not just about investments and trying to make a lot of money, but how do you get that mindset to put yourself in those positions to do that? No? I think Rex shared a lot of insights. No, perseverance, the example that the parents. I think that's also very big. The example your parents put forward to you, what you're putting forward to your kids, and I'm sure it's a family business. Like I said, no, it's a legacy that will live on and educate thousands of people, get them invested. I mean, it's a fantastic feeling, I think, when that happens. No?
The important part there as well is that there are times when you don't actually have to make the decision, and sometimes you get kicked into the decision. And I always say this, and that's why I said there's something spiritual about it, because somehow certain doors will close on you. I mean, it's not going to be a well-paved road. There would be thorns, gravel, there can be twists and turns, and you really have to make sure that you have that kind of faith. And once you get to that point where that has been a decision and that you're there, and I have to do whatever you can with it. I always remember this, and I say this and share it with my children. I mean, God would always close doors on you, but He's going to be open new ones, right?
Right.
You just have to continue praising Him in the hallway. Right?
until one opens up.
Exactly.
So for young folks out there, I mean, and maybe this is something we ask all our guests, is what bit of advice would you give with our listeners today?
I have about 3. Number 1 is be a lifelong learner. I see that all throughout my career. I wanted to learn new things. I don't want to be left behind. Even at my age today, the reason for the boards, it's a great position. It's a position of confidence in the business. But the reason why I want to be part of the boards is because I learn from them. Today, one of the areas that really, really give me a lot of these new perspectives would be GCash. I sit on the board of Mint and GCash, and I'm learning a lot from these young people. Maybe a type of business I cannot even imagine, 10 years ago, right? So be a lifelong learner and be humble enough to learn from even the younger people. Sometimes we have this seniority mantle, right? I mean, now, because of the digital crypto thrusts of the world, I mean, you have to learn from the younger people. Number 2 is the use of time. I think I can always go back and say I've optimized on my time. I've done a lot within a given, like I told you, I have Rampver. I have a job in Phillip at that time. I wrote for a newspaper, View from Taft in Business World. I taught in MBA school in De La Salle. And, I can do all of these things because I miss out on all the telenovelas and the Korean novelas. I mean, I haven't watched any episode. I haven't completed anything. So I moved from that to something more productive. I read a lot. Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, Simon Sinek. Now, it's tougher so that I moved to videos. It's a little bit more entertaining. And then lastly, and at the end of it, would be relationships. So if you look at what has transpired, what has happened to me, I moved from job to job. I resigned, but I never burnt bridges. I mean, we have those connections up till today. And that's the reason why I can walk to an AIA office in Hong Kong. I was just there over the weekend, and people bring me out to lunch or dinner and drinks. We're still friends, even if I have severe ties with them in terms of corporate work. But friendships are important. In fact, even in the business that we have today. I mean, ATRAM executives are great friends. When we need support, we can ask from a friend rather than a corporate partner. It's very different, right? And even regulatory. I mean, if you have friends in the Insurance Commission, friends in the SEC, it helps a lot. So those are the 3 things that for me would be very, very important for the young guys out there now.
Thank you, Rex. And it's been a great morning here, spending with you, learning your story. It's an incredible story, and one that I hope we all can grab inspiration from. So we've reached the end of this episode of ATRAM Game Changers podcast. A big thank you again to Rex for joining us today and sharing his inspiring experiences, insights, and stories. It's an absolute pleasure to have a glimpse into your journey and the impact today you're making for many, many Filipinos and their families now. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and colleagues. You can find the ATRAM Game Changer podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you again soon. Have a great day out there, and more insights from ATRAM Game Changers very soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.